guitar magazine advertisement that just has like Alex Lifeson, Steve Vai, Kirk Hammett, you know, like Devin Townsend, every great guitar player ever, like all on one page, and then a picture of this box, and it's like the Fractal Axe FX. And I remember I was in high school. I was like, damn, all these guys use that? What is that? That was my first impression. Hey everybody, how's it going? This is Dante Frisiello with the Steve Vai Band. We are here in Atlanta, and I'm going to talk to you guys a little bit about my Fractal rig. I got here with the FM9, so really stoked to be doing this with Fractal. I love Fractal, been using the products for many years. They have been my just absolute pivot point of my touring rig now with Steve for the last year. Have put the FM3 and the FM9 both through the ringer, and have just been blown away by the reliability and the performance. So yeah, they're just incredible, incredible pieces of gear, and they sound really friggin' good. We have a very simple, direct rig. It's left and right stereo to the front of house, and then left and right stereo via 1/4 inch to a couple Victory 2x12 cabinets with vintage 30s. And those are being powered by a Seymour Duncan 700. Those aren't mic'd or anything. Those are just for stage volume. And you know, some people on the internet like to say that you should turn your cab sims off when running into a power amp. The cabinets that I selected in the Dynacab system were absolutely essential to my sound, to the point where it just they have to be on. There's not a ton of sounds that I'm using out here, but you know, basically, like for me, my bread and butter sounds are a really sparkly Eric Johnson influence, kind of clean Alex Lifeson. You know, like really sparkly, nice light compression. Obviously stereo, you get the effects of the reverb and the chorusing really totally differently in stereo. If you're a guitar player, man, just please run in stereo. It will make you so much happier. But that's sort of like my main clean sound, and then another clean sound that we use a lot during the show is like a funkier thing. And that's just super spanky clean, really nothing but compression. Bogner Shiva is the amp in there actually, for both those cleans. And then there's a lot of times where I use a tone I call thick, T-H-I-C-C, and that is a nice, heavy, distorted sound running through my amp of choice for anything distorted, which is the Cornford or Corn-Fed M50 in the Fractal. I am a Victory amps endorsee and artist, and I love Victory, and you know, it's no surprise that anything Martin Kidd makes, I'm gonna be hyped about. So the fact that that's my favorite amp now in the Fractal is kind of no surprise to me. What makes the sound thick is the chorus. So that's a little less articulate of a sound, but it's really big, and it really fills out for certain moments, like the chorus of Building the Church, for example. I'll use that sound to really make those big chords ring out. The kind of opposite dirty sound is just a straightforward, no effects, no stereo imaging or whatever, just a straight up riff sound. And my secret sauce for that is the Horizon Devices Precision Drive, which is set very, very lightly, but has, in my opinion, the best noise gate ever. It's just so intelligent. It just responds when I need things to ring out. Like the way that, the way that the noise gate really, really naturally doesn't choke off. And that's at the gate is at the maximum setting, by the way. So the noise gate is just unbelievable. And I just like to have that pedal here, so I use that. The lead sound is also the Cornford, but Let me talk about the Dynacabs a little bit, because when these came out last year, it was just an absolute game changer for my rig. I was previously using a blend of 2 different 4x12s for everything, for cleans, dirties, leads. And what I found out when I got into the Dynacab system was something that I had sort of seen with plugins a little bit, but the Dynacab system has so many options. I ended up using a blend of a 212 and a 112. So I'm actually not going through any 412s in this rig. It's all 212s and 112s. And I've kind of discovered that I'm a small cab guy because the word that I use when I think of what I want my tone to be, and this took me 17 years of playing guitar to figure out this word, but I figured it out, is snarl. So I want my guitar to sound snarly. So in order for it to sound snarly, 412s weren't cutting it. They were too beefy and big and rich, which is a great sound, but it wasn't the sound I was envisioning. I was envisioning a really punchy, really not sharp or bright, but just a really aggressive, like. I went to law school actually and practiced law for 3 years in Washington, D.C. But during that time, I kind of realized that I wasn't spending my life pursuing my passion. You know, I was doing the safe choice that society and my teachers and everyone around me was sort of like, yeah, you should be a lawyer, that's great, you know. I was good at school. But I very quickly realized in law school that it just wasn't for me, man. And so this fiery explosion happened and I basically said, okay, well, law is gonna be my side hustle. I'm gonna keep doing it until I can eventually do music. It's funny how the universe works, man. Like when you start committing to things, things just appear. And what appeared for me was Dave Weiner, Steve's longtime rhythm guitar player, lives in Philly, and he posted on Facebook, hey, I'm starting a jam club. And I thought, I need to go to that because I don't know any professional musicians, but I've made this commitment. Now this is my goal. And once a month for like 3 or 4 years, man, I rented a car and just drove up to Philly to jam for like, you know, a couple hours in a music store and get to know Dave and a bunch of other guitar players. And that was sort of a lifeline for me at that time because I didn't know really anyone playing at that level and I had no idea what I needed to do to get there. So I wanted to spend as much time with him as I could to learn. And then, you know, opportunities just started happening. He asked me to be his tech for local gigs. We did local gigs together. And then he asked me to tech on a Steve Vai tour and I was like, holy shit. All right, what do I do? But I didn't really have to think long about it. I quit my job, moved back to my parents' house in Florida and went on the road. And I teched 90 shows in 2021. And then Dave left the band and recommended me to Steve. And along those shows on the first tour when I was teching, I was auditioning at sound checks and stuff. So that all happened. And then I ended up joining the band in March of last year. And I've been playing now with Steve for, it's March, so a year. You know, you get that real pick attack, pick articulation without it being shrill or too top-endy or too bright. And just the 212 and the 112 combo is just magic. So I played around with the mics and cabs on there until I found something I really liked. And then for the lead sounds, I use just a little bit of delay and a little bit of reverb. Very light, but again, in stereo, just everything gets bigger. You know, I'm a rhythm guitar player in a band that travels a lot of different places. So for me to have a stereo rig with amps would be very expensive and impractical. So when we went to Asia, and this is crazy, I did the entire tour for 2 months with an FM3 that I carried on to every airplane because we were so, you know, we were so like uptight about trying to handle the budget and the gear, and it was so many airports and so much travel. It was like, we got to be as small as possible. You don't need cabinets, amps, power amps. You can still get stereo if you're using in-ears or if you're using wedges, but especially on in-ears. There's a couple other sounds I use. There's like a phaser clean sound that we use a lot. It's really compressed, but that's just to make it kind of poke a little bit. Then there's like a dirty phaser. Another one we use a lot is like an octave down double. a mid-gain, super chorused, super wet sound. This has a chorus and a Leslie. And with my Abbasi, I like to put this in the passive pickup mode because you can go active or passive. So I'll go passive to really make it warm, lower the volume a little bit. The cool thing about Fractal for me is like the distortion pedals. Like you can go into the block and change the diodes and all that shit. And if you really get deep in that, you could spend 2 hours recreating anything, which is fun. One day I did that. I recreated Steve's Gemini pedal. I just like kept tinkering until I got it as close as I could in in-ears. You have everything you need is right there, and it's all super high quality. You can basically get your entire rig in one system. And that's just like a really wonky synth sound. It does not come out during the show, but I left it in just in case there was a guitar duel where I could maybe break it out once in a while. But that's a sound I use with my own material. Okay, so the one pedal that I brought is the Earthquaker Devices Rainbow Machine. It can do this really crazy, wonky detune thing. And see, this is why I don't want a normal pedal board, because the knobs get moved constantly. But there's this one part of the Hydra where I just play these chords. And this is the normal sound. It's like a 12-string emulation in the Fractal, where the pitch block's set up to do basically a 12-string type of thing. And that was a challenge to make that sound because Steve has a 12-string on the Hydra. So if you listen to that recording, is like, okay, how do I kind of get that sound to play those chords? And then honestly, I've just been doing it now for a long time, and I was like, how can I make that 1% funnier and more weird? And a couple nights so far, I've tried this pedal with it. Just because it's such a washy sound, it's already chorused as hell. So I don't use it all the time, but it's just fun to have. It's just, you know, it's fun. And it's cool, it looks cool, it makes me happy. It has a big pink rainbow on it. So it's like, everything I have is red and black and like, you know, Sith Lord vibey, which I obviously love, but it's fun to have just like a little pink rainbow down here to, you know, boost your mental once in a while. Thank you guys so much for checking out this video with Fractal Audio. I'm so excited to be working with these guys. The hardware is just, man, absolutely bulletproof. I trust it with my life. It's been all around the world in different shapes and sizes, and it's really held the test of touring extremely well. And it sounds great. It's got every option you could need under the sun. And yeah, hope to see you out on the road sometime.